Almost 140 heads of state are gathering in Paris over the next 10 days to discuss climate change and how to combat greenhouse gases. I'm joined now by Simon Weber, lead portfolio manager for Schroders Global International Equities in London. And Simon, give us a sense of what we should be watching for in the talks.
I think what's key is to really judge the sense of willingness to come to agreement to set stretch targets. We know that these talks are not going to lead to a legally binding treaty where enforcement's the key thing. It's really about are countries willing to push themselves, set stretch targets. And I think the important thing from this conference is that it will lead on to a continual process of review and evolving the goals, because they will need to be strengthened in time to meet the necessary emission reductions.
All right, and of course the talks are being held in Paris, the site of a horrific terror attack just 2 weeks ago. Do you think global terror will overshadow the subject of climate change during these talks?
Well, the coming together of so many important leaders clearly gives an opportunity for other issues to be discussed as well. I don't think that will detract or distract from the goal of this very important coming together, but clearly it gives an opportunity to discuss some of those issues. Security is very tight and taken very seriously, even before the tragic events of last month.
All right, now President Obama will be there. He's meeting with the Chinese president. I mean, what do you think will come out of this meeting? Of course, China and the U.S., the world's two largest emitters of carbon.
Well, I think if we compare this to 5 years ago, both of these very crucial economies are in a different place. The debate in the US has changed. There's still a lot of discussion, but there's clearly more momentum for change in the US on this issue. And a lot of great US companies are leading the technology solutions that we will need. And China has a big environmental problem. And they know that the transition their economy is on from investment to consumption comes with it a lot of investment in environmental technologies, cleaning up their major cities. So they also already, in their own interest, beginning down a much cleaner path.
All right, now how can investors benefit from companies and governments adapting more to climate change? Is there an investor angle here?
There's absolutely an investor angle. What the science is trying to get governments to agree to is a path of global emissions that really around the end of this decade leads to a declining total emissions from world economies. That means, if you think about it simply, the total amount of oil, coal and gas that is burned, and whatever the use is going to need to go into decline. So we're going to need technologies to substitute. That could be battery storage, electric vehicles, other forms of more traditional renewable energy. But if you think about all of these uses of fossil fuels, we're going to need new technologies. And those are going to be the growth engines, the growth industries of the future.
And are there any specific companies that are worth looking to in those spaces?
Well, one of the things I think is most encouraging now is we have some of the world's greatest companies setting their minds and their R&D towards solving this problem. Google have many different investments, autonomous vehicles, electric vehicles, Apple getting into that business to disrupt the auto industry, and clearly Tesla as a pure play on a green electric vehicle is doing very well already. There is a lot of growth in the solar industry around the world, and I think those two, the cost declines in storage, battery storage, and in solar are the most optimistic things I think you can invest in.
All right, now the International Monetary Fund has weighed in on the Paris talks. Here's what IMF Director Christine Lagarde said about carbon pricing, which of course has been thrown around quite a bit when it comes to how to reduce carbon emissions. She says through its incentive effects, carbon pricing will also help mobilize private finance for mitigation activities and spur the innovation needed to address climate challenges. React to this from an investment angle. I mean, are there certain companies that benefit from carbon pricing?
My own view is carbon pricing is quite difficult to get to work globally. Different countries think the carbon price should be different, but we clearly have some carbon pricing schemes in Europe. There's a price of carbon, and what it does is it charges a cost on heavy emission companies. Some of the utilities have been hit quite hard, and it incentivizes cleaner investment. So to the extent they can agree a global carbon pricing system, it will be very significant. I doubt that is the case. And what we will likely have is a mix. Some carbon prices, some carbon taxes, some just regulating going on.
All right, Simon, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. I'm Scott Gamm, and you're watching The Street.